Diyos. Maraming salamat po sa buhay at lakas na aming taglay, sa liwanag ng kaisipan at sa pagkakataong maipagpatuloy ang pag-aaral ng mga kabataan. Gabayan mo po ang bawat isa sa amin. Anuman ang bahagi na aming gagampanan, naway maging maayos at matagumpay ang pagtuturo at pag-aaral na aming gagawin sa araw na ito. Patawarin mo po kami sa aming mga pagkulang at pagkakasala. At sa aming paggawa, ikaw po ang aming makasama. Amen.
Hello, I'm Dr. John Mark E. Burgos, your teacher in general mathematics. Our objectives for today are illustrate simple and compound interest, distinguish between simple and compound interest, compute interest, maturity value, future value, and present value in simple interest and compound interest environment. And the fourth one is solve problems involving simple and compound interest. Let us have an activity first. I will request you to match the terminologies in column B to the statements in column A. I will give you 20 seconds to answer the question. If you are ready, you can start now. Okay, if you have answered all the questions, let us answer each question. First, this is the percentage growth of capital value. What is your answer? Yes, you are correct. It's interest rate. Number 2, it is the sum of the principal amount and interest. What is your answer? Yes, you are correct. It is future value. Third question, it is the length of term or period from the principal amount was borrowed. What is your answer? Yes, you are correct. It is time. Next, this is the initial amount or capital money borrowed or loaned from a financial institution. What is the correct term? Yes, you are correct. It is principal amount. And last, it pertains to the payment from borrowing a principal amount of money over a period of time. What is your term? What is your answer? Yes, you are correct. It is interest. Let's discuss simple interest and compound interest. Suppose you won 10,000 pesos and plan to invest it for 5 years. You have to choose among the following. First, a cooperative group offers 2% simple interest rate per year. A bank offers 2% interest rate compounded annually. Which will you choose and why? Let us contemplate the situation. Depositing money in the bank is like lending money to the bank in return, for which the bank pays interest. Borrowing money from banks or lending institutions requires payment of interest. Always remember that money has present or future values. Let us consider the first option. A cooperative group offers 2% simple interest rate. For the first year, if the principal amount is 10,000, and if you are going to compute the simple interest, it will be 10,000 times 0.02 times 1 year, and the answer will be 200 pesos. If you will add 200 to the principal amount, the maturity value after 30 years will be 10,000 plus 200 is equal to 10,200. On year 2, again, the principal amount is 10,000. For computing the simple interest, it will be 10,000 times 0.02 times 2, and the simple interest will be 400. Adding 400 to the principal, it will be 10,000 plus 400 is equal to 10,400 pesos. That will be the amount after T years in the maturity value. For the third year, the principal again will be 10,000. And to obtain the simple interest, we have 10,000 times 0.02 times 3. And the simple interest will be 600 pesos. Adding the simple interest or the computed simple interest to the principal, the amount after T years or the maturity value will be 10,000 plus 600 is equal to 10,600 pesos. On the fourth year, again, we have to start with the principal amount of 10,000. To compute the simple interest, it will be 10,000 times 0.02 or 2% and times 4, which is on the fourth year. The simple interest computed will be 800 pesos. Adding the simple interest to the amount or to the principal, the amount after T years or the maturity value will be 10,000 plus 800 is equal to 10,800. And on the fifth year, starting with the principal amount again of 10,000 pesos, to compute the simple interest, it will be 10,000 times 0.02 times 5. The simple interest computed will be 1,000 pesos. Adding the 1,000 to the principal amount after T years, the maturity value will be 10,000 plus 1,000 is equal to 11,000. From the table and from the answers indicated, you will notice that the derived formula will be principal times the rate times time is equal to interest, or P times R times T is equal to I. And also to determine the maturity value, which is F, the formula will be principal plus interest. That will be the maturity value. In order for us to remember the formula, always remember this figure. We have the pyramid or the triangle in which on the top of it is the I or the interest, and on the left side is the P or the principal, in the middle is the R or the rate, and on the right side is T or the time. So if you are going to compute that, it will be interest is equal to principal times rate times time. If the principal is required, then we have the formula principal or P is equal to interest or simple interest divided by rate times time. If T is required, then we have T or time is equal to simple interest divided by the principal multiplied by the rate. And if R is required, we have R or rate is equal to simple interest or I divided by P or the principal times T or the time, and you have to multiply that by 100 in order to get the percent. Let's proceed to the second option. A bank offers 2% interest rate, but this time it is compounded annually. So how can we get the compound interest? In time 1, we start with the principal 10,000. To compute with the compound interest, we have 10,000 times 0.02 or 2% times 1. And the compound interest will be 200 pesos. Add the compound interest or the computed compound interest to the principal, we have the maturity value of 10,000 plus 200 is equal to 10,200. On the second year or time 2, we will start this time with the computed maturity value in time 1, which is 10,200. To compute for the compounded interest, we have 10,200 times 0.02 times 1, and the compounded interest will be 204 pesos. Add that to the principal, we have 10,200 plus 204, and the maturity value after 2 years will be 10,404. On the third year, on the principal, we have to start with the computed maturity value of time 2 or the second year. So we have the principal 10,404, and to compute for the compounded interest, we have 10,404 times 0.02 times 1. The interest or the compounded interest will be 208 pesos and 8 centavos. After 3 years, the maturity value will be 10,400 plus 208 pesos and 8 centavos. The maturity value will be 10,612 pesos and 8 centavos. On year 4, we have to start with the computed maturity value of year 3. So the principal now will be 10,612 pesos and 8 centavos. And to compute for the compounded interest, we have 10,612 pesos and 8 centavos times 0.02 times 1. The compounded interest will be 212 pesos and 24 centavos. Add that to the principal, we have 10,612 pesos and 8 centavos plus 212 pesos and 24 centavos. The maturity value will be 10,824 pesos and 32 centavos. On year 5, for the principal, we have to start with the computed maturity value in year 4, and that is 10,824 pesos and 32 centavos. And to compute for the compounded interest, it will be 10,824 pesos and 32 centavos multiplied by 0.02 times 1. The interest now, or the compounded interest, will be 216 pesos and 49 centavos. Add 216 pesos and 49 centavos to the principal in year 5, it will be 10,824 pesos and 32 centavos plus 216 pesos and 49 centavos. The maturity value on year 5 will be 11,040 pesos and 81 centavos. To compute for the future value of the second option, we will use the formula future value is equal to principal plus interest, or F is equal to P plus I. On year 1, if the principal is 10,000 and the interest will be 10,000 times 0.02 times 1, the future value will be 10,000 times 1.02 raised to the first power. On year 2, using the future value of year 1, we have the principal 10,000 times 1.02. And to compute for the interest, it will be 10,000 times 1.02 times 0.02 times 1. The future value for year 2 will be 10,000 times 1.02 times 1 plus 0.02, or 10,000 times 1.02 quantity raised to the second power. On year 3, using the future value of year 2, we have the principal 10,000 times 1.02 raised to the second power. add that, or to compute for the interest, we have 10,000 times 1.02 raised to the power of 2 times 0.02 times 1. So the future value will be 10,000 times 1.02 raised to the second power times 1 plus 0.02. We have 10,000 times 1.02 raised to the third power. For year 4, using the future value computed for the principal, which is 10,000 times 1.02 raised to the power of 3, plus 10,000 times 1.02 raised to the power of 3 times 0.02 times 1, the future value will be 10,000 times 1.02 raised to the power of 3 times 1 plus 0.02, or to shorten it, it will be 10,000 times 1.02 raised to the power of 4. For year 5, using the future or the computed future value of year 4, the principal will be 10,000 times 1.02 raised to the power of 4, plus for the interest, it will be 10,000 times 1.02 raised to the power of 4 times 0.02 times 1. The future value will be 10,000 times 1.02 raised to the power of 4 times 1 plus 0.02, or to shorten it, it will be 10,000 times 1.02 raised to the power of 5. And to compute it, it will be 11,040 pesos and 81 centavos. If you will look at the table, we can derive the formula. So the derived formula will be P quantity 1 plus R quantity raised to the power of T is equal to the F, or to the future value. Let's proceed to the next lesson, which is the maturity or future value. To compute for the maturity or future value, we will use the formula F is equal to P plus I, where F is the maturity or future value, P is the principal, and I is the interest. Since the formula for the maturity value is F is equal to P plus I, from here, we can derive the maturity value for the simple interest and the compound interest. For simple interest, the maturity value will be F is equal to P plus P times R times T, or F is equal to P quantity 1 plus R times T quantity. For the compound interest, we have F is equal to P quantity 1 plus R quantity raised to the power of T, where F is the maturity value, P is the principal, R is the interest rate, and T is the term or time in years. Simple interest remains constant throughout the investment term. In compound interest, the interest from the previous year also earns interest. Thus, interest grows every year. Let's proceed to the next one. Computing interest, maturity value, future value, and present value in simple interest. Let's have the first example. A bank offers 2,500% simple interest rate for a particular deposit. How much interest will be earned if 1 million pesos is deposited for 2 years? So, from the problem, we have the given P, which is equal to 1 million pesos, R or rate, which is 2,500%, or if you are going to convert that into decimal, it will be 0.0025, and T is equal to 2 years. To find the simple interest, or I, we will use the formula I for simple interest is equal to P times R times T. And if the principal is 1 million pesos times the rate, which is 0.0025, times the time, which is 2, the answer will be 5,000 pesos. Therefore, the interest earned is 5,000 pesos. Example 2. A bank offers 0.25% simple interest rate for a particular deposit. How much interest will be earned if 1 million pesos is deposited for 2 months? From the statement, the given are 1 million pesos for the principal, 0.25% or 0.0025 for the rate, and 0.17 for the time. Notice that we divided 2 over 12 because what is asked in the problem is 2 months. If that is 2 months, we have to divide that by the number of months per year. So that will be 2 over 12, and to simplify that, it will be 1 over 6, and to make it a decimal, it will be 0.17. Since the I is being looked here, or the simple interest, we will use the formula simple interest, or I, is equal to P times R times T. To substitute P with the value, we have 1 million pesos times 0.0025 times 0.17. The answer will be 425 pesos. Therefore, the interest earned in 2 months is 425 pesos. For the third example, a bank offers 0.25% simple interest rate for a particular deposit. How much is the principal if the interest is 5,000 pesos for 2 years? So, what is being asked in this problem is the principal. Since the principal is being asked here in this statement, we will use the formula P is equal to I divided by R times T. To find the solution, we have P is equal to I divided by R times T, and to substitute the values, we have 5,000 divided by 0.0025 times 2, or 5,000 divided by 0.0025, the principal will be 1 million pesos. For the second problem, the question is, how much is the simple interest rate for a particular deposit of 1 million pesos, which is deposited within an interest of 7,500 pesos for 3 years? So in this problem, we are looking for the rate. And the formula for that will be rate, or R, is equal to interest divided by principal times time. To compute for the problem, we have to derive first, or to manipulate first, the formula from the principal, which is I over RT. To get the R, it will be R is equal to interest divided by principal times time. So this will be the formula in getting the rate. To substitute the values, we have R is equal to 7,500 divided by 1 million times 3 times 100. You have to multiply that by 100 in order to get the percent. So 7,500 divided by 3 million times 100, the answer is 0.25%. For our third example, how long will it take for a principal of 1 million pesos to increase if 0.25% is the annual simple interest rate and an interest of 12,500 pesos? So, the problem, or the formula for the problem, will be, since we are looking for the time, it will be T is equal to interest divided by principal times rate. To solve the problem, again, we have to derive the T formula from the main ulit, sir, ulit. To solve the problem, we will derive the formula in finding T from the main formula, which is P is equal to I divided by R times T. So, to find the T, we have the formula T is equal to I divided by P times R. To substitute the values, we have 12,500 divided by 1 million pesos times 0.0025 or 12,500 divided by 2,500. The time will be 5 years. Now, to find the maturity value, we have the first example. Find the maturity value if 1 million pesos is deposited in a bank at simple interest rate of 0.25% after A, the first year, B, 5 years. So the given will be P is equal to 1 million pesos and R is equal to 0.25%, or converting that into decimal, it will be 0.0025. To compute for the value, we have to find the maturity value or future value after 1 year, and secondly, maturity or future value after 5 years. For the first year, it will be determining the interest, which is I is equal to P times R times T. To substitute the value, it will be 1 million pesos times 0.0025 times 1. The interest will be 2,500. After obtaining the interest, we have to determine the F, or the maturity value. So we have to use the formula F is equal to P plus I sub S, or 1 million pesos plus 2,500 pesos. The maturity value will be 1,02,500 pesos. For time, for the first year, another method that we can use is F is equal to P quantity 1 plus R times T quantity. And to substitute the value, we have 1 million pesos times 1 plus 0.0025 quantity times 1. The answer will be 1,02,500 pesos. It will still arrive at the same answer. For 5 years, we have to determine the interest first. So we have to use I is equal to P times R times T. And to substitute the value, we have 1 million pesos times 0.0025 times 5. The interest will be 12,500 pesos. After obtaining the interest, again, we have to determine the F, or the maturity value. So we have to use the formula F is equal to P plus I, or substituting the value, we have 1 million pesos plus 12,500. The maturity value will be 1,012,500 pesos. Still, for the 5th year, again, in computing the maturity value for 5 years, we can use another method. We can use the formula F is equal to P quantity 1 plus R times T quantity. To substitute the values, we have 1 million times 1 plus 0.0025 times 5. The maturity value will be 1,012,500 pesos. Let's proceed to solving problems involving simple and compound interest. Let's proceed to solve problems involving simple and compound interest. For the simple interest, we have the first problem. How much interest is charged when 50,000 is borrowed for 9 months at an annual simple rate of 10%. From the problem, we can see the given, which is the principal, which is 50,000 pesos, the interest rate or the R, which is 10%, but we have to convert that to decimal, which is 0.10. And the time, since months is given, we have to divide that by the number of months. So if the given month is 9 months, divide by 12, and that will be 0.75 per year or year. So the question is, what is the interest? Using the formula I is equal to P times R times T, substituting the values, we have 50,000 times 0.10 times 0.75, the interest will be 3,750 pesos. Therefore, the interest earned is 3,750 pesos. Add the interest to the principal, we have 50,000 plus 3,750 is equal to 53,750. Therefore, the total amount is 53,750 pesos. In the compounded interest, to compute the maturity value F, we have the formula F is equal to P, quantity 1 plus R, quantity raised to the power of T, where F is the maturity value, P is the principal, R is the rate, and T is the time. So, to compute the compounded interest, we have I is equal to F minus P, where F is the maturity value, P is the principal, and I sub C is the compounded interest. So let's have the first problem for the compounded interest. Find the maturity value and the compounded interest if 10,000 pesos is deposited at an interest rate of 2%, compounded annually in 5 years. So the given from the statement is P is equal to 10,000, R is equal to 2%, but we have to convert that to decimal, so that will be 0.02, and T is 5 years. So to compute for the maturity value, using the formula F is equal to P, quantity 1 plus R, quantity raised to the power of T, we have 10,000 times 1 plus 0.02 raised to the power of 5. The answer is 11,040 pesos and 81 centavos. Therefore, the maturity value after 5 years will be 11,040 pesos and 81 centavos. Now, the solution for the compounded interest is I is equal to F minus P. To substitute the value, we have 11,040 pesos and 81 centavos minus the principal, which is 10,000, is equal to 1,040 pesos and 81 centavos. Therefore, the compounded interest after 5 years will be 1,040 pesos and 81 centavos. Therefore, the future value F is 11,040 pesos and 81 centavos, and the compounded interest is 1,040 pesos and 81 centavos for 5 years. For the second problem in computing the compounded interest, we have find the maturity value and interest if 50,000 is invested at 5% compounded annually for 8 years. So from the given problem, or from the problem, we have the given P, which is 50,000, R, or the rate, which is 5%, and to turn that into decimal, we have 0.05, and T is the number of years, which is 8 years. To compute for the maturity value, we have F is equal to P, quantity 1 plus R, quantity raised to the power of T, where P is 50,000 times 1 plus R, which is 0.05, quantity raised to the power of 8, and 8 is the time. Therefore, the maturity value will be 73,872 pesos and 77 centavos. Therefore, the maturity value after 8 years will be 73,872 pesos and 77 centavos. Now, to compute for the interest of the compounded, we have I is equal to F minus P. To substitute the value, we have the computed maturity value of 73,872 pesos and 77 centavos minus the principal, which is 50,000. Therefore, the interest is 23,872 pesos and 77 centavos. Therefore, the compounded interest after 8 years will be 23,872 pesos and 77 centavos. So, here is the conclusion or the answer. Therefore, the maturity value will be 73,872 pesos and 77 centavos, and the compounded interest is 23,872 pesos and 77 centavos after 8 years. For our question and answer, you can post your questions in the comment section. We have a question here. It says, what is the application of simple and compound interest? The applications of simple and compound interest are the following. We can use it in car loans or maybe in consumer loans or certificates of deposits or discounts on early payments. For the compounded interest, we can use it in, say, for example, in the growth and decay in the population. We can also use this in the increase and decrease in commodity of prices or any quantity. We can also use this in the inflation, in the profit and loss, and also most especially, we can use it in bank transactions. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy and I hope you learn from our lessons for today. See you next time. Thank you and goodbye.